Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Hey, today I've got a very small cylinder to get ready to bore. First I've got to remove some stuck piston from the cylinder, and once we do that, then we'll measure it up. We'll know what size piston it's going to need, and then we can proceed on that after we get the piston. But right now we just need to take a look at it, and I'll just use a ball hone to remove that aluminum from the cylinder wall, and then we can proceed. So let me get you overhead here and we'll show you what's going on. Okay, it's really small, so I don't know how much you're going to be able to see, but down in here, right here, we've got aluminum, 2 or 3 pieces of it right there. I can probably push it off there with this scribe, but you can definitely see that it's higher there. And I believe we've got a little bit on, on this side too, right in here. So it's scored pretty bad. But I really need to get the aluminum off first so I can really make a determination whether this is going to be a 20 or a 40 over job. And from what I understand, the 40 overs are hard to find, so I guess the worst case would be not quite a cleanup down here below the on this end, down below the ports. So you can kind of hear it. It's pretty rough. Well, it is what it is, so that's all we can do. This is a little 90cc Suzuki TC, I think it is. And another thing I run into on this is it's too small to run my boring head into. I could run a longer boring bar so that the head doesn't actually go in there, but you're talking about a 1/2 inch boring bar instead of 3/4 or 1 inch, and you just get a lot of chatter that way. If I have to, I do, but I think what I'll try to do is do this one in the lathe. And in order to do that, you need a way to mount it. And this is, I can't remember the last thing that I bored in this. I think it was a twin cylinder Yamaha. But this one, this hole is a little bit small on my adapter. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is go in here and increase this hole a little bit so that the snout of this cylinder can go into it. And then we'll just rotate this a little bit off to, off to like here, and drill our holes. These will not line up. They're just off a little bit. And these are threaded in here. I thread those, and then we just mount this thing in with, let me get you up here a little bit. Otherwise, this part goes on the bottom, and then we've got like a little torque plate that goes on here, and then we'll run the bolts down through it. But see, it's a different bolt pattern, so we'll just have to make, it's almost the same in length. I can almost get that in there, but you can see how much it's off to the side. So what we'll do is, I may have to make another plate because, yeah, it's close, but it just ain't going to work. So I'll make another plate, and this one here will increase the diameter here so that this snout will go in, and then we'll offset the holes over here so that we can get it mounted in there and get, this will actually go in the chuck of the lathe, and then we'll be able to just run a boring bar through here, and that boring bar will be substantial. It'll be probably an inch. Let me grab that. Okay, so this is an inch boring bar here, and you know it'll run through there, but it's I just can't get the boring head to go in it on the mill. As you can see, this is the smallest boring head I've got, and even the boring head won't go in it. So you'd have to use a 1/2 inch boring bar that's pretty long. So you end up with a lot of flex. So this, I think, is probably how we're going to go. This way we can keep the chatter down, and we'll just go through with this. We can set it up so that we're only going the length of the cylinder. So about this much of it, so that makes it even stronger. So that's probably what we'll do. I've got another one here that I made. This is not carbide. It would probably work just fine. I've used this for quite a few cylinders, but I think we'll probably go with the carbide one. And but first thing we've got to do is get in here and get that piston, the aluminum, off the side, and then I can get a good measurement. This is a little bit bigger one that I'd made, and it's just, you know, before I got my milling machine, I had the lathe quite a while, and I used to do a lot more of them in the lathe. And the boring head on the mill is much easier to set up because you don't have to fabricate all this stuff to set your cylinder up as you do in the lathe. But on these little ones, I just don't have the choice, so that's probably what we're going to end up doing. Okay, we'll just set this up over here in a pan. And I'm going to use a ball hone on my cordless drill here. Just give it a little shot of lubricant there. And let me clean that up and see what it looks like. Okay, let's see what we got here. I didn't realize that you were getting blinded by the light until I reviewed the footage. So I turned this around where it's not shining right in there. Those grooves are pretty deep. This is after I went in and honed it to try to get the piston material out. And you know, we're grooved right here and right across from it right here. So there's quite a bit of, that's where the deepest ones are. And there's some up at the top too. You can see right here. So let's go ahead and give it a measure, but I just don't think, I mean, we would be very lucky, I think, if we could get that to clean up at 1/2 millimeter. I think it's going to take a full millimeter to clean up, but you know, you don't need it to clean up. You just do the best you can and run it, but you know, it'll be up to the man that's buying the piston. So let's see. we'll just see if I can get that under there where it can still kind of see in there. Okay. Suzuki wants us to check this 5 millimeters above the exhaust port. 5 millimeters, 200 thousandths, 5 millimeters. Just close. Stick that, get that just about where it is. And as you can see, I'm at an angle here. You want that actually to be bigger than you need. That's why you're at an angle. And then you're going to rock it out of there. And that's going to squeeze this in to the size of that cylinder. And then we can measure it. And we're at 1.867. 1.87. And I just like to do it a few times just to make sure I'm consistent. You know, you'll get a little variation, but if you do it the same every time, everything should be pretty good. The more you do it, the more consistent you are. Yeah, right on it. I just set up my dial bore gauge. Let me get up a little bit higher here. And it's set up for exactly 1.85. And that one's showing us, depending on where we're at, just a little over 3 thousandths, 3 and 1 10,000ths, 3 and 2 10,000ths larger than 47 millimeter, or the 1.85 inches. So that's consistent with what we're reading with the snap gauge. So we're essentially, it's about 3 thousandths over standard, a little bit more in some places, which if the bore wasn't scored would be okay. You should be able to run out. I think Suzuki's saying 10 thousandths, but I really don't want them that loose. But it should run just fine at 5. They're wanting you to set the new bore up at 2 to 2.5 thousandths. So I'm going to report this back to the gentleman, and we will just see what he wants to do. I'd feel better at 1, but if all he can get is a half over, I think it'll get most of it. So we'll go with that. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and start making our adapter fit. So the first thing I've got to do is set this up in the lathe and increase this bore a little bit. We're at 2.085. And we need to increase it, looks like about 80 thousandths or so, 2.164. So we'll do that first. It takes a little bit of time. I'll set this up in a 4-jaw so I can get this pretty much concentric with the outside. And we'll go ahead and go through the boring on that. And then we'll set this up, mark it for the bolt holes, and then we'll make a new torque plate. So we've got it over in the 4-jaw chuck on the lathe, and we're trying to get this kind of close. There's some roughness on the metal itself, but that's pretty close right there. Yeah. And I'll just go around and make sure all of them are tight. That's within a thou. So we'll go ahead and take care of our inner diameter. Okay, we've got about 60 thousandths we got to take out of this. So let me just kind of find the, there we are. We'll take a trip through and just, well, let's see. I can go ahead and dial in. About 20 thousandths there. Into the first trip through. This one should do it. Should give us enough room. It doesn't have. It's not critical. It's just the cylinder's just got to fit in there. All the adjustments done on the chuck. Okay, so that should do that. So now we'll take it over and drill our holes. Okay, our next step here is to just kind of straddle the holes that are there. We'll put this hole here right over here on this side, and that way it'll be just about straddled. And what we'll do is just take a transfer punch. I've got one here that's what is it, 21/64 looks like. That fits pretty darn good. So we'll just stick that down in there, give it a little tap. And you can see we've just about straddled the holes there. So now we'll set this up in the mill and go ahead and drill those holes and tap them. Our tap drill size is a number 7 for quarter 20. And we'll start this with the drill. It's not power tap. It'll spin in the chuck. Be sure to back it up, clear those threads. Keep it well lubed. I don't remember what I've been doing on these. You don't need to go all the way through, that's for sure. Maybe I ought to look and see what I did. Yeah, looks like I did though. Probably just went, I can't see all the way down there. Probably just went down to the length of the tap. It's only going to go in there about any half inch or so anyway. I think I'll just stop right there. Okay, we've got all that done. Now I want to make the torque plate for the top. And all I'm doing is I've got this all kind of set into the adapter, and then I'm running another transfer punch down that just barely fits in, and that one won't go through the 1/4-inch holes. And hoping this is going to be good enough. I'm sure I'm moving it a little bit. I'm trying not to. Okay. I can see them, just barely. I'm going to go to around 2 inches on this. The bore size is 1.85 for standard bore. So I've just run to about 2 inches. That way we can cut just about anything it'll take. And if I happen to be a little off off the center, it'll still be good. Just about there. And I think this is the last trip through. Yeah, just a little over 2 inches. Should be good. Okay, so there's our fixture all put together, and this will just go into the lathe, and we'll center everything on the lathe, and that's what we're going to use. Right there. Okay guys, there you have it. We've got our fixture built for boring the Suzuki TC90 on the lathe. So that's all ready. We really need a 1mm over piston. If he can't come up with that, then it will come close to cleaning up on a 1/2 millimeter. It's just too bad. It's just too much scoring in there. But we'll see what he comes up with, and when he does, then we can go ahead and bore this one. So hey, thanks for going along on the ride, and see you next video.